Ladies and gentlemen, we have this next very interesting panel discussion which is on aligning the organization with customer centricity. We're just taking a minute to do the setup, so please bear with us. And then I will introduce the chairman and the moderator. While the setup is being done, just to save the time, I'm going to introduce before you the chairperson and the moderator, who is Mr. Raghavendra Rao. He's a senior marketing and communications professional with over 27 years of experience in the industry. Mr. Raghu is currently the global marketing and communications lead for Accenture's operations business. Our panelist for this section is Mr. Vimal, Head of Product, Data Center, NTT Global Data Centers and Cloud Infrastructure. Mr. Vimal is the Head of Product, Data Center at NTT Global Data Centers and Cloud Infrastructure. With more than 2 decades of industry experience, Mr. Vimal is responsible for effective data center capacity management. Our next panelist for this section will be Mr. Rajesh Ranjan. Mr. Rajesh Ranjan leads Everest Group's business process services, research and advisory practice globally. He has authored numerous horizontal and industry-specific industry reports. And another one of our panelists, very interesting panelist, is Nupur Sharma. She is the Director Marketing of CrowdStrike. Professional with holistic marketing experience around developing strategy with focus on customer understanding, identifying relevant differentiators and building a targeted communication while providing a complete brand experience. And of course, our fourth panelist will be Mr. Jimmy Tangri. Mr. Jimmy Tangri love for music has got him into DJing since February 1983 and radio since February 1994. With over 39 years of DJing and over 28 years of radio, he's truly established himself in the domain. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we have our moderator and our panelists here already, and I would like to request everyone present here to please give a hand to our chairperson and moderator, Mr. Raghavendra Rao, as he takes over, and our panelists, Mr. Vimal Kaur, Rajesh Ranjan, Nupur Sharma, and Jimmy Tangri. Over to our chairperson and moderator, Mr. Raghavendra Rao. Sir.
Thank you so much. Is this mic working? Can somebody put on the mic, please?
It's not working. Can you turn on the
All right. I don't think I need a mic. Can you all hear me? All right, great. Okay, so let's get started. Sorry, we are running a little short on time, a little delay, but thanks so much for patiently waiting throughout the end of the day. I think the only thing that's keeping all of you here between this and the next match between, I think, Morocco and Canada today at 8:30 p.m. This like really shows that you work hard and play hard. All right. Okay. So the topic is aligning the customers, aligning the organizational customer centricity. That's what we are here to discuss. I'd like to set a quick context before I pass on the baton to all my colleagues and friends on the panel. So we do a lot of research in Accenture to figure out where the customer sentiments are periodically, quarter on quarter, year on year. And we recently released research which was conducted across G2000 companies, around 1,700 C-suite. And it revealed that most of the enterprises today are looking at investments in digital. And while they're doing that, they also realize that they are only keeping head above water. So the customer expectations are changing so frequently and so differently and so rapidly that even all the investments people are doing is not able to make up and keep up with it. So what is it really that's driving this entire trend? So people are looking at how to invest differently. Also, there is a group of people, a small group of people in any industry which is ahead of its peers set, because they are changing the focus from being a product-centric to a customer-centric to being a life-centric organization. And what does that really mean? What does that really mean? There are 4 or 5 things that really determine what you are when you move from customer-centric to a life-centric organization, and this is applicable both in the B2B and the B2C space. The first one is, how do you view your customer? Right? How do you view your customer? It's a very complex persona in terms of an enterprise, complex in terms of a human being. So how do you really move that? The second piece is all around, how do you add value, which is more than what you sell. One of the clear examples is that of sustainability. There are a lot of customers who are adapting to cloud worldwide, and they're asking the question on how green is your cloud. So the second piece. The third piece is about transcending industry norms. So if we all of us are familiar with, cab riding apps like Ola, Uber, etc., who were designed earlier for getting a person from place to place in a cab. That really evolved, and as it moved on in terms of trying to become more customer-centric and more life-centric, it started shipping food, goods, other consumer items. So it became a medium for growth, moving people from point to point and goods and services from point to point. The last piece is all about, how do you get your customers, how do you get your organization aligned to all that you're doing in terms of your marketing, your sales, your service. How do you align all those functions in one linear way, where they come together to think about the customer and just not think about what their function is doing. So we have enough and more to discuss. We have around 30-35 minutes. I will open up with Vimal and ask him to give us some inputs on how he's seen the entire business on data centers moving in India over the last many years, pre-COVID and post-COVID, and what is it that they're looking for in terms of their customer challenges, and how are they messaging to the market. Vimal. Sure.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me here. We are because of you, the customers, and probably the topic is around that. So, if you look at us as an industry, data center industry, probably we started in 98 or 2000s, as commercial, but there was very small business into it. So we're like, small server rooms. I personally joined this industry in 2004. Before that, I was in RFID, and it was a dying industry at that point of time, and I jumped into this data center industry. While from 2004 to 2012, I think probably this was becoming a glorified real estate business, and there was not much business or traction. And suddenly, the hyperscalers decided to come to India. And at that point of time, I still remember we used to have data centers which were like 4 megawatt, 5 megawatt, 7 megawatt. And suddenly customer is talking about 30, 40, 50 megawatt and hundreds and megawatts in multiple cities. And that's where the gear changed. It was hyperscalers who actually gave that requirement to market. And from there, brownfield became greenfield. So the first greenfield came in around, which was like completely BTS, was around in 2015. And post that, now that's history, Everybody is making greenfield data centers. But now, after pre-COVID and post-COVID, customers, the volume is becoming so much in this country that they have decided to make their own data centers. Which means that not only we have, the requirement changing, so we need to also change. So we are growing BTSs, we are not product-centric anymore. Whatever customer requirement is, we are aligning ourselves to that. And I think that will be a pretty much similar solution in the next 10 years. And as and when the customer's volume increases, technology changes, we have to adapt, and we are fully focused for that. Apart from that, it is not only the hyperscalers, the enterprise, the government policies, our enterprise customers, banking, finance, everything is growing. But this market needs some changes. The traditional data center, what we are selling, what we are making for them, we need some changes, and we are adapting to what customer needs are, and precisely we are delivering those products. So this is what I think probably our industry has been, we are changing constantly as per the customer requirement and needs. Thank you.
Well, thanks. So I will move to Jimmy from Friends FM, and he's from a very diametrically different end of the spectrum. If we go from B2B to B2C, he is dealing with the what we can call the TikTok generation, who need innovation on almost a hourly basis, if not a daily basis, and he is at it all the time. So, and he's working on multiple initiatives with his channel. So, Jimmy, can you tell us your insights on how do you deal with your customers, your clientele, and how is their aspect of life centricity determining your business trends?
First of all, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure being here, being with all you beautiful people who actually, I'm learning a lot from you guys, basically. That's the way I look at it. Let me rewind a bit. I'm into the business of radio, but I'm going to rewind a bit. Our grandfathers, long time ago, they used to work for money. Basic idea was to make money, go home, look after family. Our fathers said, okay, great. We are working for money, but we also want to enhance our standard of living. Today, when we look at the youth or the Gen X who is going forward into the earning world, they're not just looking for money, they're not just looking for career, they're not just looking for enhanced lifestyle. That's all there. They are looking at being content, they are looking at being happy, and they are looking at loving what they are doing. Now, rewinding a bit back to radio. When I joined radio in Feb 94, those days we used to play audio cassettes in broadcast radio stations. DATs, vinyls, records, and CDs were just introduced. So, radio has gone a long way. From those days, today, we are totally computerized. Music is also absolutely scientifically put in, what we call mood mapping. And I'm just curious, okay, I'm just going to ask you guys a question out there. How many of y'all are bored, feeling tired? Okay, how many of y'all are in Josh? Can we have some hands up? Yeah, come on, I know y'all have had a lovely lunch. Great. Okay. Where I come from, just imagine you're fast asleep in the morning, and at 6 o'clock, when we were young, mom and dad or someone came in, shook you up, yaar beta chalo utho, pulled you out of bed. Would you like that? Would you like it? Come on, yaar, why? I can't hear anything. Would you guys like it? No. Suppose mummy came, beta, ud jao. Please, slowly, aaram se, with all the loving voice. I think you would have stretched, felt a little easy on the eyes, and slowly, slowly got up. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what radio is all about. Mood mapping. Just imagine at 6 o'clock in the morning, you open the radio, and the first song you hear, lungi dance, lungi dance, lungi dance. You'll say, yaar, kya ho raha hai, yaar? Ultimately, you say, what the hell is this, yaar? Forget it, this is not my radio station. So, radio, or what I call the audio, synergizes with human psychic. What we call mood mapping. In the morning, we build up a rhythm slowly, then we get into high energy while you are going out of your houses. And then, of course, various TGs, then housewives and shopkeepers, then the youth. Then as we move into the night again, music softens. So it's all about mood mapping. And what is mood mapping all about? Making you feel relaxed, making you feel happy, making you want to listen to radio. Those days of radio, it was all about a sexy voice and music. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just the base of radio. When someone asks me, oh Jimmy, you're with radio, I say we also do radio. Because ladies and gentlemen, we are in audio business. If I have to say something, and if I say it with a lot of emotion, I can make you cry, I can get you excited, I can get you angry. That's the power of audio. And that's what we do. Today, in today's generation, we've gone way ahead. Just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, Facebook was introduced in India. And I still remember my show, I also RJ a bit. In fact, that's my passionate way I enjoy the medium. We started the first Facebook Live on radio using a telephone, using a mobile phone. And before the pandemic, and just as the pandemic started, we took a call as a radio station that we will go on air and we will also go on digital. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to say we are one of the only stations in the world which is using a software called Restream. And as we are broadcasting on air, we are conversing with the listener across the world, and we are streaming to about 7 of our pages. Means on radio, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Facebook Live, across, and even on LinkedIn. It's all about connecting. It's all about ensuring that the customer is happy. Today, you may give the best of service, but it's okay for me, theek hai yaar. That's not the way it works. I think as we are moving forward, we are looking at the happiness and the way the client reacts, enjoys either the service or the product, which is going to be a key to success. It's not about, yaar, chalo, I've got the best product in the world. It's not about, but does that best product make the customer happy? Does that best product of the world really incite the customer to engage with it? We have to give it a serious thought. And a lot of things come into it. So there's a lot to talk about, but you're Raghav, you're looking hot and happening, so let's get on with the next. And we were deciding actually, we were contemplating, should I rap or shouldn't I rap? There's the smile.
We will get you a rap towards the end. We'll wrap up with your rap. So Jimmy, thanks so much. I wish we could transpose that mood mapping to our enterprise clients as well. That'll be incredible. With that, I think I'll ask Nupur the next question. In terms of enterprise, so Nupur, you spent quite a number of years in public relations and then with enterprise IT and so on. Now you're doing that. And a lot of things that we talk to as value to our clients is beyond what we really sell. And sustainability is one of them. Just want to understand from you your perspective on trends that you see in terms of customer centricity, and number 2, specific to sustainability. How much does that really resonate with your clients? How proactive are you in terms of taking that message to market, and how much are clients soaking it in?
So taking on from, are you able to hear me? Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. And taking on from what Jimmy was talking about, you ultimately want your consumers to be happy. But imagine that one morning you wake up and that radio doesn't go on or the music doesn't play. Imagine that your corporate or your organization has got breached, or there is an attack that is not letting you do at that point of time what you were supposed to do. So talking about sustainability, at CrowdStrike, we really believe in having a human-centered approach. It's not just about what are the business or the technology considerations that we have today. What is more important, and in fact the factors that we need to keep in mind, is the human behavior, the human needs, the human preferences in today's market. We believe in predicting and preventing breaches and threats. We provide protection at endpoint, in the cloud, like we were talking about the cloud security piece, also with identity, and also protecting data. So imagine whether it's data centers or it's cloud or it's your organizations, remote or in-house, it's all about really protecting your data, identity, and cloud. So with that, it's very, very important to have a human-centric approach. At the end of the day, in this digital transformation age, it's very important that we have our organizations safe, we have our people safe, we have our identities safe, and most importantly also, as it extends into this world, we have our children safe. We are all in the cyber world. What is it that we can do together so that we are all safe and life can continue to grow better?
Thank you. So, Rajesh, over to you. So you heard all the perspectives, and with Everest, I know that you interact a lot with global clients, global enterprises, both from the service provider and the buyer side as well. Where does all this fit in your assessment of how we headed in terms of keeping clients at the center, obviously, but then how we approach them in terms of selling and in terms of work.
No, absolutely. Great perspective. Again, thanks for having me. I mean, I'm an industry analyst, right? So for sure, I need to talk about some data or kind of analyze why we are talking about this particular topic. At one level, we understand, but if I try to put this in the broader business perspective, global business perspective, a recent research came out with this finding that 70% of the top CXOs or the key executives are putting customer centricity as the top priority in the coming years. And why are they doing it? Because the research suggested that those enterprises who put the customer centricity, superior customer experience at the heart of what they do, they generate 15% higher top line, but they also lower the cost to serve by 30%. Now, a lot of times when you think about, hey, we need to create superior customer experience and create greater customer centricity, the notion is that you need to make a lot of investments across multiple things. Actually, that's not true. The data that I just suggested, you can increase your top line by 15%. You still reduce your costs to serve by 30%. So how some of these global organizations are doing it, some of these leading organizations are doing it, right? Of course, if you look at research, if you look at this, there are a lot of building blocks of creating an organization and making it customer centric. Of course, we talk about data, analytics, tools, technology. We live in the digital era. We're going to be in metaverse era, so on and so forth. Operating model, business model, and all are valid components. But one of the key things that I have seen, which play a very, very important role in making an organization customer-centric, is actually the culture. The culture of the organization, internal culture of the organization. And it's not about the sales department or the marketing department. We're talking about organization. How do we align the entire organization to become customer-centric? In fact, one of the greatest correlation is between employee experience and customer experience. You cannot have and cannot create a superior customer experience if you don't have employees and the human part of the picture, as we're kind of talking about, are really on the same page. In fact, if I can give an example of, and I can quote this because it's in the public domain, Grab, right? One of the tax-hailing companies. One of their organizational mantra is, for everyone, the organizational mantra is, your problem is my problem. In a lot of organizations, you will see, hey, this is not my problem, this is not my remit. You got to cut through that silo to be able to kind of achieve that. So, again, the point here is, irrespective whether you are in B2B setup or B2C setup, again, a lot of building blocks, all valid building blocks. The focus, attention on building that organizational culture, and right from the top to the bottom, is critical, is crucial. And that same gets reflected into third-party relationship like service providers and so on and so forth, right? So that's the point, right?
So Vimal, can you give an example of how you bring that to life in your organization? How do you really align teams together when you finally have to go to market?
So first of all, the kind of industry we are in, the customer is giving his heart, right? So it's like you can't stop it, right? So the commitment comes from a very from the management level actually. So when the management commits to the customer for whatever services, technology we have to implement for them, then comes the role of the middle management, wherein all the top, whether it is projects, whether it is product, whether it is procurement, engineering, so all have to collaboratively work, and for that, the focus of management is always there, so that we don't lose track. And as he correctly said, everybody has the same goal, that we have to deliver what our management has promised to the customer. So everybody, so we do weekly meetings, monthly meetings, and probably, we try to also in between, everybody gets to talk to a customer also, to understand his requirement, so that we don't have a gap in between teams. So, but focus has to come from management, and I think probably everybody has to work together to deliver what customer needs.
So let's switch the dial a little bit and talk about innovation. I think we've all heard a lot of speakers. This is how we do things differently, how we need to reposition ourselves, etc. So let's switch the dial to innovation, and I'll turn to the B2C end of the spectrum. And Jimmy, can you give us some examples of how you brought changes and how you innovated in your programming in order to keep up with the audience's requirements, and also how maybe you've done things that put you ahead of what your audience could even think of?
See, radio, as I said, is all about the feel, the perception, The key success, especially in radio, is not just doing a show or doing a good show. It's connecting with the audience, engaging with the audience, and interacting with the audience. The first mantra, which sadly not many stations do, you need to be live and real. If I'm doing a good show, the audience over there would love to engage with me. But if it's going to be a recorded show with a sexy voice and great music, and the person is listening to it, then why shouldn't he listen to any song anywhere in any of the channels or the Spotify's or whatever, basically? He wants to engage. That first observation of radio, the first objective of radio is to engage, connect, and interact with the consumer. Very, very important. That way, he feels very close to the medium. He knows he can pick up the phone or send a message on the digital and he's going to get an instant response. So he feels very close to the medium. It's like a family. I get calls. I'll just share maybe a 30-second story. It was a long time ago, I remember, very, very late night at 1:30 in the night. I got a call from someone on air live, and the first thing he said, Jimmy, I don't want to live anymore. And that was at 1:30 in the night. So I spoke to him, and I spoke to him for 16 minutes on air, which is unthinkable. But that's how people think, how close they can confide on radio. He was standing on the 4th floor of the ledge, holding a mobile phone, and he was talking to me. After 16 minutes of conversation, I understood. He had someone to hear. His dad was busy with business, no time. Mom and kitty parties, no time. He was talking his life out on air. Absolutely, and the world was hearing. After 16 minutes, I convinced him to get back to his room. Today, he is one of the biggest lawyers in the Calcutta High Court and a very good friend of mine. And whenever we meet, he says, Jimmy, radio gave me a second life. Now tell me, which product or which thing can make you so close that you can give a call feeling कि यार चलो यार एक तो दोस्त है वहाँ पे जो मैं बात कर सकता हूँ. It's not innovation. It's coming out reality. Talking about innovations, we have to innovate every day. And remember, radio is not just about on air. Radio is not just about creating amazing content. That has to be there. You have to differentiate. But radio is all about on air, on ground, and digital combined. I'll give you a small example. There was a very big beverage client. We did something for a very big beverage client. There was a huge festival. We had taken one of the huge parks in the city, and we used a hot air balloon. And inside that hot air balloon, which was about 22 feet, where about 10, 12 people can stand, we created an entire radio studio. On the move on air, about 100 feet in height, we were broadcasting live from a hot air balloon, engaging with those 10 winners there. Innovation. Way back I talk about, we created a radio studio on a hoarding in the city of Calcutta, right on the main Kamak street. We had 500,000 cars passing it every day, and the engagement was so good that we had told the people, if you're passing by, why don't you dip your headlights? And all the cars in the evenings were actually dipping the headlights. That is the connection. You just can't just play music, or you just can't have a great voice and tell the person, okay, give me a call, we're having a contest. That's basic radio. You need to innovate, you need to refresh, you need to create a differentiation. You need to take a baseball bat and charge out and give a big hit, rather than just a normal slap. Trust me, that is the game which needs to be done, because ultimately, you also can't hum a song for 1 year. You will hum it for 1 month and then you'll love some other song, you'll start humming it. And that's the way it works. So radio is a continuous ongoing process of innovation. And as we said, 2 years back and right now, we are huge into digital. We are into the audio business. We have started our podcast. We are engaging in a big, big way across the audio dimension. And this is just the beginning.
Thanks, Jimmy. So Nupur, I'm going to pick up on one of the conversations we had over the last day or two and ask you, given that we discussed about all that you've done in the last many years, I'm going to take you to the story about the hills, all right, where you set up this fabulous place. And obviously, I mean, everything is got to do with business, and it's an enterprise of its own, like you had told me, and you get customers over there. So it's a different experience for people to go there, even if they are customers. So what is it they're looking for, and how is it that you bring these elements together? And that's something that you put a lot of personal effort into. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you for surprising me. This was not supposed to be here as a question. But if I got your question right, you're asking me with that whole enterprise setup, how is it that I'm putting my learnings from there into the current state of things? The other way as well? Well, okay. So thank you for putting me on a spot. This is not something I prepared to answer, but I will try to. So what he's referring to is that I've spent few years in the industry, almost about 25. I've worked with Cisco and Symantec and Usitis and various IT networking cybersecurity companies. And about 2 years back, just when COVID started in 2020 early, we had a little home in the hill, and we just, as a family, packed up our bags on a Friday night and left the city. And we went and lived in the hills for 2 years, me, my husband, and I have a 12-year-old daughter. So 2 years, and I quit the corporate world, and I set up a little wellness resort over there, just few mud huts and cottages. Did that in a very sustainable, eco-friendly way. And trust me, everything that I thought I had learned in my corporate life is something that I can go and use in this new business that I was setting. It was my start of a journey of an entrepreneur. Well, there were lots of things I've learned in my career and in my networking and IT life and cybersecurity, corporate world, but most of those things did not really apply. What really applied, again, and going back to the point of my earlier conversation, is it was a human-centric approach. It was really the people that I brought together. I employed my whole team from the local villages. I gave employment to the laborers there. And this is a really secluded place in Uttarakhand where, there's, in 10-kilometer vicinity, there's nobody else. We're like really in the forest. But I kind of helped in uplifting the people, their lives, their families, sponsored education for children, got, employment for even the women of the villages and all of that. Did that for 2 years, and that enterprise is now really running on its own. It's outsourced, and it's a lot of joy. So whatever we learn in life, somewhere or the other, we do use it. However, this was a completely different situation for me, and it has really worked out well. And what truly gives me the joy is that I'm able to support families. And it's a small start. Just 11 people are employed with us right now. But imagine if each one of you in this room start to think like this, and each one of you could take up a village and say, all right, we're going to bring this ground up. And we use technology. I have 100 Mbps broadband line. I have people who come there and do vacations and work from mountains and all of that. So try to mix technology with the village life and all of that. And in my current situation here, after coming back, I've actually been able to empathize more with people. I'm able to understand people more in my organization. I'm able to, bring down my ego in a lot of things. And I'm able to limit myself in needs that I would have for my life. So both ways, it has been a wonderful journey. Thank you.
Thanks. I think the audience is going to really remember that story for sure when they take off from here. Rajesh, back to you. How much of human-centric innovation do you see in the enterprises that you interact with?
I would say it's a kind of a mixed bag. It's a journey of sorts, because if you think about innovation, I think there are 2 or 3 fundamental questions. One is, what is innovation? Right? It's like, transformation. Everyone uses the word, but you need to contextualize it, right? So for purposes of our discussion, to me, innovation is how we are creating meaningfully better experience for customers, right? So let's say once define it, the second question then becomes how do you create it, right? And traditionally, the way it has been thought about it is, a particular innovation office is going to do it, a particular R&D department is going to do it, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, this is your employees, anyone and everyone possibly is contributing to employee experience, right? So on this question, Raghu, the way I see progressive organizations doing it is really kind of harnessing the power of almost all individuals in the organization. And it's not about a big I innovation fundamental. There are a lot of incremental innovations which can have significantly superior experience in the... So I'll give you a quick example, right? So for example, there's this payroll outsourcing company, right? So they process payroll for a lot of organizations. And they also, respond to, queries that their clients or their clients' employees will raise, right? There's something. So one of the things that they saw, and this is one of the, the people, some of those people, they saw that, invariably, the number of queries were much higher when the actual pay is anyways different than what the typical pay is, right? And that is when the, phone starts ringing, they have to kind of provide the inquiry. So it's a kind of fundamentally then going back to say, why are people kind of, calling up, right? And anyone, as you know, all of us know, we don't want to call up a customer service. That's not a kind of a, thing that we look forward to, right? To that extent, we want to eliminate that, right? So the simple thing that they saw is that they kind of looked at it and they say, hey, actually, the most number of queries are coming during that time period, and the reason why it is coming is because of this differential. So why can't, when we are kind of providing the pay slip online, all those things, anytime there is a differential, right, they highlight that. The employee, the user in this case, can double click on that and get the reasons. If then there is any issue, right, you can call up. So again, and this improved the experience significantly. So the point that I'm trying to make, which is going back to the human-centric approach, going back to the experience part of the picture, if you look at a lot of things in today's world, they can be replicated, right? Your marketing message definitely can be replicated. Even your data, technology, tools, even to the business model, right? If you see, that this startup comes up and within 2, 3 months, 5 months with a similar kind of model, there are so many others who come up. So those are replicable, repeatable. That is what we are saying, replicable. What is difficult to replicate, which is going back to my original point, I'm kind of possibly harping on that, but it's very related to the human element of it, is the culture part of the equation, right? And as they say, cultures eat strategy for breakfast. For sure they do.
Yep. Thanks, Rajesh. So we have only around 2 minutes left. I'll quickly ask Vimal, if you have a message to give to all our friends in West Bengal, in Kolkata, Vimal, what would that be?
Oh, sorry, Vimal, sorry. I got it. Message. Okay, so message is that we were in core cities and tier 1 cities as a data center provider. So we have finally decided that Kolkata will be the first tier 2 location where the construction will start. And I promise you that from NTT that the customer experience we have in core cities will bring the same experience, same infrastructure within Kolkata in the next 12 to 14 months time, depending on how quickly we get approvals. And I have been visiting Calcutta from so many years, but the kind of response I got for the last 6-7 months, I think this city is geared up for change, and we promise our contribution, and we promise to be customer centric at the end of the day. So, thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you, Vimal. Rajesh, very quickly from you. What is that one thing that you believe is the biggest factor in the success of a client-centric organization?
Biggest factor, I said, continue to be the culture part of the equation, the employee experience part of the picture, how organization internally, not one department, every one of us, everyone, right? How are they, which is going back to this Grab example, or the Grab, the taxi hailing company of Singapore, right? As every employee start to understand, hey, this is, this problem is my problem, and the way they galvanize, that's the key, right? Of course, you can have the right tools, technology, all those are important, everything is important. This is the place where I see organizations miss it.
All right. Parul, one thing that you want everybody to remember about CrowdStrike?
About CrowdStrike. Well, there are quite a few things, but one thing that I can talk about is that we at CrowdStrike really believe that when we do need help, and this is from an organization, people perspective, when we need help, we seek out help, which means that we can actually look for opportunities where we can co-create, even with our customers and consumers, with all the people that we touch with our products or solutions. We can actually co-create with them so much in the market that together we can all win.
Great, thanks Parul. And Jimmy, always, like I promised, we will wrap up with a rap from you. I'm going to give you 4 words. Meta, data, changers, makers. Let's see you do a rap song for us, and the bell is just rung.
Meta, data, changers, makers. Yo, 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 check it out and go. It's a meta world. You gotta say, show. Everybody say, put the data on hold. You gotta go, go, go. Everybody say. The change makers are the makers, and that's what life is all about. I hope I was satisfactorily with your line. But
excellent.
But okay, I just gotta say one line about us at Friends FM, or Radio as per se. Interact, engage, connect, spread happiness, and we are there for you all 24/7. So give us a buzz whenever you need us so we can spread happiness together. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Please give a big round of applause for our panelists. A great pleasure to have you in the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and Moderator, for that excellent panel discussion. We request you to kindly remain on stage, and I'd like to request Mr. Suman Banerjee to kindly come on stage and present mementos to our Chairperson and Moderator and our panelists. Extremely interesting session, I must say. Thank you, Chairperson and Moderator, Mr. Raghavendra Rao. Mr. Vimal Kaur, thank you so much. Mr. Rajesh Ranjan, thank you very much for that very interesting session that we had right now. Ms. Nupur Sharma, thank you very much, ma'am, for this interesting session that you had with us. And Mr. Jimmy Tangri, thank you. That was so interesting. The rap was excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Shall we ask them to come to the front? Yes. Gentlemen and ma'am, moderator, sir, and ma'am, I think they want a picture. The photographers will be waiting, so they want a picture. Thank you so much. We request you to take your seats in the auditorium.